Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rails Board meeting. I'm Michael Campbell, President of the Rails Board. It's Friday, June 18th, 2021, and I call this meeting to order at 1 p.m. Emily, will you please call roll?
Here.
Ellie Cox.
Here.
Percy Harris. Diane Hollister. Here. Chris Penny. Sarah McCone Chase.
Here.
Jennifer McIntosh.
Here.
Paul Mills.
Here.
Jenna McLuisi.
Here.
Scott Poynton.
Here.
Becky Sprafford.
Here.
Thomas Stagg.
Here.
Beth Peppin.
Here.
Alex Fancina.
Here.
Michael Campbell.
Here. Thank you. In accordance with the Government Emergency Administration Act, PA 100-0640, the Rails Board of Directors finds an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent and believes it is in the best interest of Rails to hold a virtual meeting to perform essential business. Also, in order to comply with the Opens Meeting Act, anyone is allowed to join the meeting as an attendee. Any comments put into the chat during the public comment period will be read aloud. Let's start with the recognition of guests. So we will handle guest and public comments at the same time. So let's start with the guest here in Burr Ridge. Deidre, will you start?
Yes, Deirdre Brennan, Rails.
Jim Krieger, Rails.
Monica Harris, Rails.
Emily Feister Rails.
Karen Boydick, Rails.
Next up is East Peoria.
Hi there, Kendall Larson, Rails. I have no comment.
And Robin Hellenthal. I don't know where I say I'm from, but.
Thank you. Emily, are there any guests who are participating via Zoom?
No,
Okay.
do not believe so.
Yes, Kathy Parker.
Oh, sorry, Kathy Parker.
Emily, how could you forget me?
I can't see you. There she is.
There she is.
There I am, sorry.
Also, Emily, did you receive any comments via email?
I did not.
Okay. Does anyone else have any public comments at this time? Okay, moving right along. Let's move to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to move any item to the regular agenda for further discussion? Okay. Then may I have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda?
Paul Mills, so moved.
Second, Hallie.
Okay, moved by Paul, seconded by Haley. Emily, will you please call roll?
Sue Busenbark.
Yes.
Ellie Cox.
Yes.
Diane Hollister. Yes. Sarah McCone Chase.
Yes.
Jennifer McIntosh.
Yes.
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Jenna McLuisi.
Yes.
Scott Poynton.
Yes.
Becky Sprafford.
Yes.
Thomas Stagg.
Yes.
Beth Peppin.
Yes.
Alex Fancina.
Yes.
Michael Campbell.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next up is Jim with the financial report.
Okay, you have the financial report for the month of May in your packet. There's 1 month to go in the fiscal year, and we'll close out fiscal year 21. The highlights are our expenditures remain well below budget. They were $758,853 under budget through May. And our revenues are well above budget because of the receipt of the entire year, fiscal year 21, area and per capita grant payments, plus a significant chunk of payments which were part of last year's allocation. Our unassigned cash and investment balances would fund just over 23 months of operations, nearly 2 years. So we are very we're in a very good cash position. Other highlights are, with the receipt of the entire year's Aryan per capita grant allocation. This was the earliest in a year that our entire funding has been completed. We had a few years where they completed it within the fiscal year, and it was like on June 30th we got the payment. This time we got it at the end of April. So it was quite an improvement. Our investment income remains well below budget, almost 135,000, because interest rates are at near zero. We've had 7 months of continuous declines in the month-end interest rates now. Personally, I think it's going to, well, it seems like it has no place but to go up. And, there are signs that the inflation rate is starting to pick up too, and a typical response to that is an increase in interest rates. So I wouldn't be surprised. Our expenditures are budget. They were even more favorable than the last year. We will have quite a catch-up of expenditures in the last month, as we also will be paying bills that were incurred in May and June, and then bills that were incurred in June and July, but the July payments will be charged to this fiscal year. We'll make up quite a bit in contractual services, which currently is $257,000 under budget. But I am estimating that our expenditures will be at least $500,000 under our budget this year. And they were even more below budget the 2 prior years to that. So we have built up quite a reserve balance in our general fund. Also, we received a $125,000 grant to purchase ebook subscriptions. We've devoted it to children's material. We will complete that during June, and the grant will be completed during this fiscal year. And that's pretty. Oh yes, I also mentioned we had budgeted to purchase laptop computers for $125,000, and it doesn't look like we will make that purchase, and it will approximate the original budgeted amount, but it probably will not happen until fiscal year 22. So that will be a little bit extra rolling in, but they are on order, and they came in as the price was as expected, but there's a supply constraint right now. So can I answer any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Okay, next off is reports. So we'll start off with reports from the president, and I do not have a report, so we'll keep moving. The Rails Board Committee reports. We'll start with the Advocacy Committee with Jenna.
Thank you, Michael. The committee met last Thursday, and we will discuss changes to the committee charge later in this meeting. Thank you.
Consortia Committee, Paul.
The consortium committee did not meet. It is scheduled to meet next month.
Okay, thank you. EDI Committee, Diane.
I have no additions to my report. Are there any questions?
You should have gotten, we sent out the committee
It was
reports
sent.
today, I think, and there's, yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. The Executive Committee did not meet this past month. Next is Kathy Parker with the report from the Nominating Committee. Kathy?
Yes, thank you. The nominating committee met at the end of May when we were certifying the election results. At that time, we did put together a slate of candidates for officers. I have contacted those people, and they have all accepted the potential slate. So I'd like to present them as, for president is Tom Stagg, vice president Alex Vancina, treasurer Scott Poynton, and secretary Jennifer McIntosh. Our thinking was, because there's so many new people on the board, we definitely wanted people in the officer's position to continue have that continuity and for the next year. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Kathy.
Sure.
The vote will take place next
Yeah.
month.
Yeah, the vote will take place at the July board meeting after the new board members are sworn in. So, and I believe they'll take nominations from the
Yes.
floor at that time too.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
The
thank you.
policy committee.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
Stick around if you want.
Afternoon. Right. Policy committee with Tom.
The committee met yesterday and our recommendation will be discussed under agenda item 8.6.
Okay. Moving right along, resource sharing committee, Monica Harris.
The committee did meet and a review of the charge will be discussed under agenda item 8.8.
Okay, we've got lots to discuss.
Busy week.
Yes. The Universal Service Committee, Sue.
The committee met this week and the report was sent yesterday. And we also have a recommendation that will be discussed under item 8.9.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for those reports. Next up is item 7.3, the Rails report, and Deidre will handle that.
Yes, thank you. I think that Tom and I are going to sort of do this together, right, Tom?
Yes.
Yes. So fortunately and unfortunately, we have new board members coming on, some of whom are with us today, Karen and Robin in East Peoria. However, that also means that some board members are departing, and we are losing 4 members this year, including our president and Sarah McCone Chase and Paul Mills, who has served his time on the Rails board. And also Percy Harris, who may be out there somewhere, although he's probably having to do something about, vaccinations. So we do have some plaques to present. I guess I will start with Paul, since you're the longest serving. Thank you so much for everything you have done. Can I shake your hand?
Yes, you can.
Paul has served, well, I guess you were never secretary, were you? But
I was never a secretary.
okay.
No.
Everything else but.
And then Michael, so sorry to lose you, but we're not going to, I hope, really lose you. This in sincere appreciation for all your work and
Well, thank you.
leadership. Yes.
Definitely not.
Sarah will be sending yours to you. Thank you so much for everything that you have done, all your participation in committees, and obviously to Percy also. Tom, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, if I could. Michael, thank you for being a member of the team and also all the guidance you've given me as when I was in my role as vice president. Paul, I've learned so much from you on the consortia committee. It's just amazing all the stuff that I've learned, and thank you for that and your service on the board. Sarah, I enjoyed working with you on the advocacy committee and everything, and hopefully we can continue that role in the future and all that stuff. And I talked to Percy last Saturday, and I know he will be missed on the board as well. Thank you all.
So I'm sure we'll find plenty of work for you guys to, no question in my mind, so. All right, so in terms of the rest of my report, in your packet, there is also the memo is in here about the action items from the previous meeting, and the status report of those is sort of after my report and before the Rails monthly report. So board visibility, we're going to discuss that more later on. Strategic planning, Stephanie Chase will attend. She's going to be our consultant. She will be at the June board meeting via Zoom to introduce herself. You already heard about our good fiscal or financial news. And we are submitting the 2 grant applications to the state library. We're working on those right now to recoup the money for L2 support and the world languages cataloging, among other things. Let's see. I did want to bring up, and we'll probably discuss this a bit more later under the visibility item, but we did have a call with Greg McCormick this morning, actually Kathy Parker and I, about some library issues, and so we have some ideas about trustee training that I'll share later. Also wanted to add that I went to the Niles, Maine board meeting this week. There's a lot there. I would say that the Board of Trustees is very divided on the course of the library, and they're having a lot of very, I will just say, adversarial conversations at the meeting about what's going to happen at that library. They had a board meeting Monday night, they had a board meeting Wednesday night, and they're having a board meeting tonight. So all of you know that that's never a good thing. So not quite sure what's going to happen there. Let's see. I guess I don't really have anything else to add. I'm happy to take any questions. Questions? No. Okay. All right.
Okay. Next up is Joe Philippak with the Rails Service of the Month report.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is nice to be with you. Yes, Joe Philippak, Director of Consulting and Continuing Education. I'm just going to spend just a little bit of time talking about what we do, and who we are is myself and my 2 colleagues, Diana Rush and Marty Schmidt. I think most of you know what we're talking about when we're talking about continuing education, that we are organizing and executing learning events that help our members do their job more effectively and ultimately serve their communities better. That really is the primary mission of what we're doing. We do this primarily by contracting with outside speakers and presenters, but it certainly involves tapping our members time to time to share what they are doing, sharing information, and Rails staff. Some of us are involved with training our members to a certain degree. So I do have a few slides, mainly to keep me on track. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I know you have a lot to get through, so if it takes more than 3 minutes for me to get it to work, I will just bear with me here a second, forego and just talk to you all. So are you seeing presenter view or the full screen right now?
Full screen.
Hey, look at that. All right, that only took like 10 seconds. Perfect. I probably jinxed it by saying that. Okay, so when we think about the reasons why we offer continuing education to our members, I think it can really tie to all 5 kind of goals of our strategic plan. But I think that probably these three are the ones most. Three is pretty obvious. We're doing this training, the consulting, the continuing education to help libraries be the best they can be. And they can't be the best they can be without educated, informed staff. Goal 4, preparing libraries for the future. And that has to do with, I think, resiliency, offering training opportunities that are going to help libraries anticipate change and things that are maybe not a challenge in the moment or something they need to do in the moment, but 6 months, a year, 5 years from now, going to need to be looking at. And then, of course, our aim to be the best library system in the country. And that can't happen without a robust and responsive continuing education services and offerings. And especially, I think that's true when we might be the only option for a lot of our member libraries. I think that professional development budgets are more than likely shrinking rather than being expanded. So it's increasingly important for Rails to be able to offer continual learning opportunities for both staff and, of course, trustees. So a common question, I think, is like, how do you come up with the topics that you do? And I think about this, I guess, in kind of 4 main buckets. At the top, as it should be, is member feedback. Our members are not shy when it comes to offering ideas for continuing education they would like to see Rails to provide, and that is a good and necessary thing. And that takes the form of direct feedback to myself and Diana and Margie, but then it's also through people like Dan Bostrom in member engagement. And as he talks to our members, it's the networking groups that meet with Dan, also Monica and Dee, as they've talked to networking groups, they always come back with ideas on continuing education that will be helpful for them. So that, of course, is critical and really belongs as at really the forefront. Trends, of course, paying attention to what is happening, not just amongst our member libraries and library types of all sizes and types, but not just here in Illinois, but broader than that. And really, when we talk about resource sharing, that means so many things. And part of it is sharing what is happening in libraries so that our members understand and can adapt and really think about things that are perhaps being done that they should be thinking about being done. And obviously there's great history in library sharing and not reinventing the wheel. It's something that we have always excelled at. External, a pandemic makes for great CE opportunities. I got to tell you, you put the word COVID in any webinar title, you're going to double your registration every time. It's just a sad reality, but it does speak to the fact that we, to be successful, have to be responsive. So yes, whether it is opportunities that speak to this current environment of the global pandemic and what it means for libraries, but it's also the 2020 census. It's about when the state library offers digitization grants to be able to offer training that is supportive of that. A few years ago, American Disabilities Act celebrates 25 years since its passage. So doing some training to celebrate and raise awareness of that. Minimum wage increase obviously was another big one. So really looking externally, not just into libraries, but what is going on in the world, what is going on in our communities that we need to offer some education around. And then, of course, the staff and all of you, there's a reason that we attend these meetings. You have a perspective that is something of a bird's eye view, that the request for training we get may be coming from an individual library thinking about the needs that they're seeing. But of course, all of you and the Rails staff interact with a lot of libraries and can give that perspective of what is going to be valuable and really fulfill a need. So those are sort of what I would describe as the main 4 buckets. There is certainly not a formula, but I think we are always mindful in thinking about those things as we organize events. Numbers are fun to look at, so I pulled a few. The first couple you see there, this is actually since the continuing education as a system service started in 2014 at Rails. Those are the number of events, of course, that webinars, in-person workshops, etc. Contact hours is a number that we're required to report to the state library, and it's basically people times the amount of time spent in training. So you have 30 people attend a 2-hour webinar, you're going to have 60 contact hours, and that's a number we have to calculate each year, give to the state library. And then as you see, 200 archive trainings, things that we record and that are available on demand to our members. On the consulting side, the FOIA OMA hotline, which we established, I believe, in like 2015, early 2016 for libraries that needed support on questions related to Open Meetings Act and FOIA. And then the money that we've awarded to networking groups and libraries and consortia to support training that they wanted to execute but needed funding to do. And we've been able to award a good amount of money that has benefited these groups and ultimately our members by having more CE that was supported through these grants. Now, is 55,000 contact hours a good number? I have no idea, because while it tells us that people are coming to our training, it doesn't necessarily tell us that our members, how are they benefiting from our CE, right? So like, what is the impact? Somewhere Grant Halter's smiling that I'm bringing this up, because we do need to think about that. And in a minute, I'll talk just for a moment about some of the things we're working on related to that assessment piece. This map, I think Dan Bostrom, when he talked to you about member engagement and others, we always bring up the fact, because it is a reality, that these 27,000 square miles poses challenges. There's opportunity as well, but this is something we always give to the state library each year to basically demonstrate that all the CE that we offer is not just happening where a lot of you are sitting right now, this little red dot in Burr Ridge, that we have to take our CE on the road, which is all these other blue dots that you see, all the way down to Quincy, up to Freeport, everywhere in between. And it's always going to be a challenge to do. We can't be everywhere. There's probably always going to be more blue dots here because we have so many of our members that reside there, but it really is important. This was probably from 2018, back when we actually got in our cars and drove to places like Galesburg and Macomb and Quincy, which we will do again one day soon. But the point is that even though, the pandemic has forced us to shift everything virtually, and that has allowed more of our members to participate, there are things that you can't replicate. There's the sort of secondary benefit of the networking that happens during these workshops that we do in person. So while we'll always keep using Zoom and webinars, we will also get our show back on the road and connect with our members this way. I think it's really important. It will always be. Do just want to briefly highlight, the fact that we have initiatives like Directors University and Elevate that Rails not only is involved with every year, that I think have been very important and I would describe as successful, but that we really helped in getting off the ground and maybe would not have happened at all without Rails support and the work that was put into making these happen. You probably know by now, Directors University, for those public library directors each year, to give them a really intensive experience of what it means to be a director, and Elevate, leadership development, not for all types of libraries. And those are 5 and 4 years running respective now. And then, of course, this is just really getting off the ground, but what we're going to be doing in the area of EDI and training. And you're all aware of the board subcommittee that is sort of tasked with thinking about training and help guiding Rails in sort of developing and thinking about what is going to be most useful for our members. We are working with Biz and others to develop this cohort model of training around EDI for our members that we hope to launch probably early 2022. We'll be working with now to sort of build it. And then I will say that the Equity, Diversity, Inclusion training grants that we offered, we got a number of really strong applications. I think probably by next week we'll be actually awarding those grants. We really got a lot of great topics and different topics. And these are all going to be events that, while they were organized by a library consortia, are going to be open to our members, and they're going to be throughout the fall. So I'm really excited about that. So as I wrap up, just a couple last slides here. As I said about the assessment piece, these are questions that we have asked traditionally following our CE events. What was most helpful about this program you attended? How well did it meet your expectations? But, in working with Grant, really thinking about how can we get at what the impact of this training is. So he has been working with us to come up with questions more along the lines of this that speak to those impacts. How is it going to help you implement a new service or change at your library? This is just a few examples. And our plan is to both have these questions to ask shortly after events, but then also to follow up maybe a month after a training to see, okay, what have you done with that information that you learned during this webinar or this workshop? So that will, in the next fiscal year, be something we'll be doing. And then my final slide here, and the final thing I wanted to just mention is sort of the other word in the title of this department, consulting. I think that, while we have certain structured consulting programs, we have that FOIA OMA hotline I mentioned. We have the consultants directory where people can go to find an outside consultant. We have our relationship with HR Source, where from, I think, 40 in the beginning to about 60 or 70 libraries now take advantage of their consulting services, which is really important from a sort of HR perspective and making sure that they have the expertise they need. I think that the informal consulting that we do is something that has steadily increased over the years. When libraries aren't sure where to turn, I think increasingly they're turning to Rails. And that means not just the department, but to people like Monica and Deirdre, to people like Dan in member engagement, and Slaughter from IT technology standpoint. While we might not have system consultant in the title of our, in our job title, it's something that we do quite regularly. And a few examples, these are just from the last couple of weeks as examples of questions that I've received. We get a lot of questions related to things like non-resident fees, libraries looking for examples of other libraries that may be trying to do the thing they would like to do, and we can connect them. Questions in the sort of legal and policy areas. This administrative code, this is actually a Cards for Kids Act question. Interlibrary loan, something that all library types contact us for, where they would like to do interlibrary loan, but they don't know how to start. So making sure they understand the options, making sure they understand our delivery system and how that's going to benefit them. And I think Dee alluded to this when she was talking about a couple of those libraries that she visited. The fact that I think increasingly, as much as anything, trustee outreach to Rails, not just when there are issues, but certainly, yes, when there are issues, that a trustee, a board, a director, and their board, something is not working and they need our support. And they contact us in a variety of ways. Most of the time, they're not an email like this, because they're wise enough to know anything you put in email, of course, can be FOIA'd. So that's why we get a lot of phone calls. Those can be difficult to navigate. And I think the way that we support our trustees and our boards, and especially with these issues, is by giving them resources, as Dee said, attending meetings, being there in support from Rails, offering assistance at times from our attorney, sometimes financial advisor, when there really is a pretty serious problem that is really negatively impacting the community. But it's hard, it's when a trustee contacts us, that's just one board member, and we don't know if it's reflecting the entire board. We only have so much information. So we're always going to be exploring ways to support our trustees. We know it's so critically important to do more training, to continue offering things like the trustee roundtables that Dan and I have been doing now, and to assist with onboarding, because I think that is something so critical and is something that Rails can do and be impactful. But the point is that this, consulting, this informal, just picking up the phone and calling Rails, I think is really, for our members, a critical service. And they really do rely on us in a lot of ways. So I think my time is up. I will stop there, and I'm happy to hear any comments or take any questions of yours. But I know you have tons to do, so if you don't have anything, that's okay.
Well, I'll just add a note. Thank you, Joe. That was really
Sure.
great. And as I mentioned earlier, the phone call that we had this morning with Kathy Parker and I were talking about a library that's having some issues that came to her attention through Directors University. And it got us talking about the need for more trustee training. And that it's, let's talk about having a trustee university like we have Directors University. And since people are so used to Zoom now, it might be much easier to do. So, Greg was in total agreement. I think that he said we need to talk about this more. So I think that's something that will become a great partnership should become a great partnership between Rails, the State Library, Heartland, and the ILA Trustee Forum, which I think it would be a fantastic thing for, Tom and Percy and everybody else who's part of that. It's a way of really strengthening that relationship. So, and I think a great way for our board visibility to be part of the planning for that. We'll talk about that more later, but as much as, I think we're tired of Zoom, it has had kind of a liberating effect in terms of how you can, offer training and communicate. So yet another wonderful thing for Joe's team to take the lead on.
Any other questions, comments?
They do a great job with not a lot of money, I'll tell you. They really, really do. So thank you, Joe. And thanks to Margie and Diana as well.
You bet. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So on to new business. Item number 8.1, the Rails board meeting schedule for FY 2021.
The State Library, I told Michael, but I didn't tell all of you. Greg got the word yesterday at 4:15 that the state offices were going to be closed today to comply with the new federal holiday.
There's no one here from the State Library.
There's no one there and there's no one here, right?
Yeah. So,
I already got a question from HR whether that's going to be.
I know. Yep, we'll see.
Okay, sorry.
That's
no
right.
problem. So on to item 8.1, which is the Rails board meeting schedule for FY 2021. Deidre?
Yes, so we every year we verify. I mean, we've been meeting on the fourth Friday mostly since we started having a board. The July meeting is always tricky because we don't, this is our first opportunity to, hear from the incoming board members. I already know that I think you have a problem, Karen, on the fourth Friday.
No, on the 20, that's the 23rd. It's the first vacation we've taken in 3 years.
I know, everybody's in the same boat this year. Nobody's taken a vacation. But I also know that one of our current board members can't do the next Friday. So I don't know. I have a feeling that somebody's not going to be able to be at the board meeting on July. So we got to figure that out. And then this is the rest of the schedule that we're proposing. And also, hopefully, at some point, we will be able to add in under this, TBD, to be determined, that we will be able to travel to some of our other sites and have the meetings there. So I leave it to all of you to tell us when you want to meet in July, because we're going to be here anyway.
Comments for the July meeting?
I personally am open the last 3 Fridays in July, so whatever.
Pardon me?
I'm open the last 3 Fridays in
Okay.
July, so.
I mean,
No preference. I'm also available any Friday in July.
I planned my vacation around the posted schedule to be responsible, but
No,
I mean, I knew people need to be here though, so. And I cannot call in because I'll be doing something where I can't call in, so.
well, good.
Unless my husband who the day before has to call into something.
So you were planning on July 30th?
No, I was planning that the meeting would be July 23rd, so I planned my vacation
Okay.
around that fact. We're leaving on July 24th.
Right.
I'm available either the 23rd or the 30th, either one.
How about all you out there on Zoom or in East Peoria? Do you have any issues with either date or?
Either is fine with me.
Either's fine with me too.
Yeah, I'm good with
Either's
either.
fine.
We're all good with either.
Jennifer, I'm fine for either date as well.
I can do
Sure.
either. I plan for the
Either
23rd.
day.
Okay. I do, I mean, Becky, thank you.
Yep.
I think, I mean, we don't know about, we didn't hear anything from Alice or Chris.
Everyone
I'm-
connected.
Okay.
On the 20th.
Oh, hi, Alice.
Hello.
Alice is our other incoming board
When is
member.
Alice?
Do those dates work for you?
I'm free on the 23rd, and that's what I was planning on.
Are you free on the 30th?
I could be free, but I'd have to move some other appointments.
Is Patricia on as well?
Patricia Smith, are you out there? Guess not.
Tricia did not join
Okay.
the meeting.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Jody.
I mean, the goal should be for the new people to be there, but we'd probably need to find out
Right.
from
Well,
Patricia.
I guess, Alice, I would ask you to determine that if you can move those on the 30th, because I think that does turn out to be the best. I know you said you're free on other Fridays. It's, we have a lot to get ready before the board meeting, and I would rather not move it up a week, just so we have an opportunity to do it right. So I'm going to say that we're going to meet the 30th unless Alice tells us that she can't, and then I don't know what we'll do.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. And you'll let us know as soon as you know?
Yes, it's a doctor's appointment. I can reschedule it. It's fine.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay. And this meeting, the July meeting is an all-day thing. We have the orientation for new board members in the morning, and then we have the regular meeting in the afternoon, and everybody is invited to come to the orientation because you never know what you might learn. So, and then the rest of the schedule is just the regular, it's the fourth Friday at 1, except for in May, because we always end up on Memorial Day weekend somehow. And sometimes we have to move them because of conferences, and I guess that's what we did in March and in June, which is why we're meeting early this month as well. So I would ask for a motion to approve the.
This is Scott, so moved.
So we have a motion, and do we have a second for Friday, July 30th?
Rest of it.
And the rest of the dates?
Excuse me, we don't vote on the rest of the.
No.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Just for Friday, July 30th at 1 p.m. as the date and time for our next board meeting. So it was moved by Scott. Do we need a second?
Allie, I'll second.
Thank you.
So Emily, will you call roll?
Kelly Cox,
Yes.
Diane Hollister. Yes. Sarah McCoy-Chase,
Yes.
Jennifer McIntosh,
Yes.
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Jenna Mcaleese.
Yes.
Scott Pointon,
Yes.
Becky Spradford,
Yes.
Thomas Stack,
Yes.
Beth Teppen,
Yes.
Alex Vancina,
Yes.
Sue Busenbarg,
Yes.
Michael Campbell.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is item 8.2, the executive director goals for FY 2021. Deidre, do you want to?
Yes, thank you. I just put some basically kind of bullet points together. I got these from your review that you did of me last month. I just want to hear from you all. If I missed anything, obviously I'll flesh these out into like more substantive statements, but these are the areas. And we'll talk about them again next month and approve them then. But if anybody has anything they want to add, or I'm happy to hear about that. No?
Okay.
All right, that's good.
Are you just looking for additions, or are you looking for clarifications or feedback on these at this point?
No, I understand what you all meant.
Okay.
Is there an area that's missing, do you think?
No, I don't think anything is missing.
Okay, all right. And you'll have another opportunity, obviously next month too, so. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next up is 8.3, the Rails 10th anniversary.
Yeah, so we are working on a number of things related to our anniversary, including having some sort of a celebration at the meeting next month, right, Emily? Yes, with food. Did I say that we asked everybody to come to the meeting in person next month? Did I say
Yes.
that?
Yeah, there was an
Yes.
email.
Okay. So that's the first thing. And then, as I said, Stephanie Chase will be here next month, and she's our strategic planning consultant. And the anniversary is definitely going to be sort of the launching point of for the plan in terms of like, look what we've done, where we've come from, and what to do next, and all that kind of thing. So we're working on a number of, communication materials showing what Rails has accomplished, and hopefully we'll be able to do some more, celebrating throughout the year. So it's a big deal, and I think we've accomplished a lot. And it's amazing when Mary was looking back at what it was like when we were first here, and we weren't allowed to do CE when we first were formed. State Library wouldn't let us, we had, and then they finally, we had a big argument about that, and then they finally relented when they said if you have a year's worth of cash in the bank, you can do CE. But I mean, can you imagine if we couldn't do CE? I mean, because that was like the most important thing for members when we did the strategic plan was CE, because as Joe said, a lot of people, that's the only CE they can get. Anyway, that's rehashing the past, but still, just even that alone in terms of where we are now is. We'll of course want the board to be involved in that too. I think it will be very interesting and also enjoyable. That's all I have to say. Any questions? We'll keep talking about it. And
It would be nice is the 10th year starting in July? Is that?
Oh, man.
Or is it the end of the 10? Like, it's hard.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is I'm very involved with a local charity called Pillars, and they're celebrating their 100th anniversary. And we're doing something like all year.
Yeah.
So we started in January and we do something each month.
Right.
Some of them are big and some of them are small. I think
Right.
it would be nice if we did something each month.
Right, that's what Mary's hoping.
Okay,
Exactly.
like even if it's just like a program.
Right.
A virtual thing.
Right.
It would just remind people, and it works really well.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
And I didn't mean to, I mean, there's always that argument, right? Did we celebrate Y2K in the wrong year or?
Well, and I didn't, yeah.
You know, but
I don't think it matters either. I think as long as we start it July and
Right.
we do some things can be tiny.
Right, I think it was July 2011, so that would mean that we're.
Yeah, whatever.
Our 10th year.
We're.
COVID, we just are waiting.
Yeah, well, we couldn't have done it this last.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, but we should
Anyway.
make sure it's like tagged a certain way
Yeah.
and.
Absolutely.
Promote it.
Yes, we're gonna like have a special logo, you know, and do lots of social media stuff. And
Are we gonna invite old board members to do stuff?
I mean,
The young ones too.
former
Like
board.
former. Past, whatever. Some of them are younger. I mean,
No, I was thinking about that.
I mean, I'm friends with Bill Coffey. I could tell him to give you guys a call because I know he would love to do.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I just want to, put that in your head too for other things that you think might be fun or important, because I know you've all had various kinds of celebrations, just like you're saying, Becky.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up is the review of the closed minutes session from May 2020 and August 28th, 2020. These were included in your packet.
They were emailed separately.
Oh, they were. Okay, at this time, the May 22nd, 2020, or we're suggesting can be released to the public
Exactly.
viewing.
Excuse me, we skipped 8.4.
Did we? Oh, sorry. So we can go back to that.
Sure. I didn't even get it.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, so, so if,
We have to make a motion to approve them and release them because
Right.
it's two separate activities.
one to release, one
We have
to,
to approve first and then release.
and one to remain closed.
They've already been approved.
Oh, we already approved them. Okay,
Yeah.
so now we're just doing release and close.
Yeah.
Right. So can I have a motion and a second for that?
I move that we release the May 22nd and keep the August 28th closed.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you. And a second?
So move, or second, this is John.
Thank you. And Emily, will you call roll?
Diane Hollister. Yes. Sarah McCone Chase.
Yes.
Jennifer McIntosh.
Yes.
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Jennifer McAdoosie.
Yes.
Scott Pointon.
Yes.
Becky Spradford.
Yes.
Thomas Stagg.
Yes.
Beth Peppin.
Yes.
Alex Vancina.
Yes.
Sue Bushbar.
Yes.
Ellie Cox.
Yes.
Michael Campbell.
Yes. Thank you. So now, just to confuse everybody, we'll go back to 8.4 and talk about board member visibility and advocacy. And Deidre has something she would talk on that.
Sure. You had a really robust discussion about this last month. It was really about it came up as part of our discussion of the election, as I recall. And so I think that, as I said, this anniversary and this idea of the trustee university type of thing will be, I think, very helpful in increasing the visibility of the board. I think you all had some ideas about, presentations at member updates and at other things. I think those are all really good ideas. I think, I would like to, work with the staff over the next few weeks to come up with a plan that we can present at the July meeting. that's more, just more robust than what I just said. I think there's a lot of opportunities, and I'm also very conscious that you're all busy and you're already doing this, and I don't want to, impinge too much on your time. So it's, but there's lots of opportunities, and I think it's a great idea. So I will welcome suggestions at the next meeting as well. That's it, really.
Okay.
Just wanted to, reiterate that.
Thank you. So now we're down to item number 8.6, which is Rails staff vaccination and mask policy. And the policy committee report discussed that. And so I believe Tom and Deidre are going to.
Yes, I will let Tom take the lead on this, and other committees members too.
Okay, thank you, Deidre. The committee met yesterday, and we would like to recommend to the board to adopt the rail staff vaccination and mask policy that was sent out in an email yesterday. Are there any questions on the policy?
I don't think this is the right one.
Yeah, you sent us a new one.
Revised one? The
Oh,
one
maybe
that
I,
says
maybe I
revised?
just, maybe I still just have a copy of the old one.
And you
then.
said you were gonna screen share it. That's what it said in the email.
Did you get the one that said revised at the top?
No, I put that just on yours.
Oh, okay.
On the bottom, it should say.
I still want to, I still
It
have
should
one
say
that says
voluntary
draft.
COVID-19 vaccination program policy.
Yeah, the one you sent today doesn't say that.
Doesn't say what?
Just says
Just
draft
approved.
voluntary. I don't know
They only
what the
got
change
this one.
was.
There are only two changes.
Here's the correct one? Okay, I just didn't grab it.
But
Sorry,
ours-
thank you. I grabbed the wrong one. That was me grabbing the wrong one. Sorry.
This one today.
Yesterday.
Instead of just
So-
vaccination.
You want us to
Okay,
share?
I see that. Okay.
Do you want us to share it so you can look at
Jody,
it?
can you screen share?
Well, and what's the change? They weren't like in red or anything, so I didn't know.
One of them is,
Can you let us know what was actually
Yeah,
changed?
There was
Yeah.
nothing in
one of
different
them,
color, so I,
one of them for sure is page 2, under duration of voluntary COVID-19 vaccine program. The first sentence was struck.
Yeah, this is the one that they just sent.
okay.
Okay. I don't have.
And then just the title?
I think those were the only two.
Okay,
We also changed added the word program.
right, they just said the title.
Yeah.
That makes sense, because it is a program.
So essentially, it's I think the important thing to also, as we talked about yesterday, this is definitely an evolving situation. As we know, we expect to have to amend this, or will want to amend this at some point, but it's the right way to start. It also brings up, the next level, which is the public. And having the public in our buildings. We're not ready to do that yet. And staff in our buildings and the public in our buildings. But we're working on that for the next round.
I just have I think it's just a scrivener's error
Okay,
on the back page. In the paragraph above the word accommodations.
Yep.
The submission to human resources of a copy or your.
yes,
I think that
of
should be
your,
of.
thank you.
Again, just a scrivener's error.
Yeah. You see that, Emily? What?
Tell me where that is again.
It would be above accommodations, Emily, that paragraph that says the submission to human resources of a copy or your CDC code. It's just, it should be of, that's all, yeah.
Now, are trustee or board members supposed to submit too? Because are we the public?
That's the
That is-
next conversation.
We discussed that yesterday also.
Because it seems like if we're here in working conditions, we should be held to this too.
That would be what we would like. We didn't feel that we could litigate, like legislate that or whatever the word is, but yes, we would like that.
carry it on my phone.
And I have it on my phone too.
Yeah.
I have it on my phone too.
I do too.
Right here. I have mine and both my
It's on the
children's on
screen
my
too,
phone.
though, so. Okay.
They're talking about their own personal.
Yeah. Yeah, their own cards, yeah.
Oh, I
Your
see.
card.
Yeah, they're talking about holding their cards on their
Okay,
phone.
yeah, I have it
Mine
on my
and
phone
children.
too. Yeah.
So are we supposed to discuss that, or is that?
Yes, let's vote on this first, I believe, and then we
Sure.
can have a discussion on the second point. So, thank you to the policy committee for putting this together. So at this time, could I have a motion and a second to adopt the policy?
As amended.
As amended?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is Scott. I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Beth
Do we have
Tappan,
a
I'll second.
Okay. And Emily, will you call roll?
Sarah McCone Chase,
Yes.
Jennifer McIntosh,
Yes.
Paul Mills,
Yes.
Jennifer McNamee,
Yes.
Scott Pointon,
Yes.
Becky Spratford,
Yes.
Alice Stagg,
Are you there, Tom?
Alice Stagg,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Beth Tappan,
Yes.
Alex Cancina,
Yes.
Sue Gerstenberg,
Yes.
Ellie Cox,
Yes.
Michael Campbell.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So, this brings up the discussion of should the board be held by the same policy?
Right.
My name wasn't,
What?
excuse me, my name wasn't called.
Any comments?
Diane Hollister, sorry, Diane. Oh, that's okay, yes.
I wondered.
We missed Diane.
Stop screen
Sorry.
sharing too.
Jody, you can stop screen sharing, thank you.
Okay, with that passing, this brings up the action, should the board be held to the same policy? Comments?
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah,
I think-
I'm good with it.
I think we should, to show solidarity with the staff. If they're gonna follow it, we should.
Other comments?
That seems reasonable to me too. I like the solidarity aspect of it particularly.
I think we need to vote on that at the July meeting then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move that to, we'll table that to the July meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Makes sense, yeah.
Okay, thank you for your input on that.
Yes, thank you all very much. Can I take off my mask now?
Yeah, can, but I guess we can't. So I think so.
Next up is item 8.7, which is the revised Advocacy Committee charge. Jenna?
Sure. So the Advocacy Committee met last Thursday, and at this time, we would like to recommend that the board approve the changes to the committee charge. I am happy to answer any questions about the revised charge or the discussion that we had at the meeting that sort of led up to this proposed change, which is in your packet, if you would like to ask any questions about that or you would like any more background.
I think it would, I mean, part of the reason was, I think, if you don't mind, I'd like.
No, of
yeah,
course.
Yeah. It was just a committee of board members. And with nothing wrong with that, except that 3 of the members were not going to be on the board anymore. So there was
Right.
not going to, and it just got us thinking about what was that didn't make any sense. And what is the point of the advocacy committee? And so
Absolutely.
we just wanted to, nail it down a bit more and make it clear what the topics are and also who we want to work with, that we never intended to compete with ILA or any other advocacy organization, but to be
Absolutely.
sure that we were all educated about the issues.
We also thought that it was important as the committee over the last year has had lots of robust conversations and done a lot of great work talking about advocating for different,
Right.
the multi-type libraries that we serve as part of Rails. And we realized that we don't have representation on the committee from all of those multi-type libraries.
Right.
And so particularly in working with Hallie with special libraries and work with Laura Turner, who had joined us for some conversations, who works at Caterpillar, became very clear to us that it would be important, if, especially in our efforts to try to elevate the profile of specialized libraries, for example, we should really have somebody who's working in specialized libraries on the advocacy committee. Otherwise, it amounts to a bunch of people talking about and making decisions about business, about which we might not necessarily be as well informed as we would like to be.
Right.
And so most of our advocacy committee meetings over the last year have included special guests who represent these multi-type libraries. And we thought, rather than just welcoming them as special guests, why don't we just suggest that they be part of the committee composition, which will really enrich the work, also be able to divide up our labor a little bit and help us to become more of a committee of action as well as a committee of great conversation. So I think that was a little bit more context for why we had suggested, particularly the changes to the committee composition.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think just one thing to be conscious of too is that, like, for me, and this is very near and dear to my heart, just my staff, I used to love advocacy, was highly involved at the national level, state level, regional level. And then my statute changed, my governing statute changed and took that ability away from me.
Yep.
So just something to be aware of, that some of us legally cannot participate as much as we would love to, but we are absolutely happy to do as much back end work as we possibly can. So,
and I think
even
that's
though some
one
of
of
us
the
love to be
reasons-
involved, we just legally can't.
I think that's one of the reasons that we stress the education part too.
Absolutely.
So we don't
We can get
get
uneducated
people, any of us, in that kind of a situation.
This is Becky speaking as someone who's not on that committee, but is on two committees with other representation outside of the board. I find it highly valuable. So when we're having a conversation in Universal Services or the EDI committee, that we have people who bring experience, that we don't have to invite them as special guests. I think it's very important. And when I saw this, I was thinking, why wasn't this committee doing this before? So thank you for noticing that, because I think it's going to make the committee and the work and the conversation so much better and save time too.
Well, and I think it's a demonstrable way to show that we are wanting to elevate the profiles of our multi-type libraries if we are encouraging people who are Rails board members to want to be a part of this committee. We know that there is interest. And so Becky, thank you for your addition to that. I do think that these proposed changes bring the committee composition and the purpose and the charge of the committee into more alignment with some of our other committees of the board. So I think that that's another great dimension that we are bringing with this proposed revision.
Okay, any other comments, questions? If not, may I have a motion and a second to approve the changes to the charges of the Advocacy Committee?
So moved. Hallie.
Jennifer, second.
Yay.
Emily, will you call roll, please?
Sure. Jennifer McIntosh.
Yes.
All those.
Yes.
Senator McNamee.
Yes.
Scott Poynton.
Yes.
Becky Spradford.
Yes.
Tom Stagg.
Yes.
Doug Pepin.
Yes.
Alex Messina.
Yes.
Sue Gustenberg.
Yes.
Kelly Cox.
Yes.
Diane Hollister. Yes. Sarah Michelle Chase.
Yes.
Michael Campbell.
Yes.
Did I get everybody?
Okay, item 8.8, which is the revised resource sharing committee charge. Monica.
Thank you, Michael. So you saw in your packet that there are 2 copies of the Rails Resource Sharing Committee charge, one that was the previous charge, and then one that was the revised charge that was approved by the committee on May 10th. The revision specifically removes the specific library types and then the exact number of committee members that were in the original charge. That's to put it more in line with the other two Rails committees that we have that also involve members, not exclusively board members. So the EDI committee and Universal Service Committee charge specifically, although since the Advocacy Committee is also moving in that direction. So revised charge still details the importance of wide representation. It's just not as prescriptive in a way that doesn't allow us to add those with the right expertise and interest to the resource sharing committee. So that was the reason for the change. Any questions about that change or the reasoning?
Okay, if not, may I have a motion and a second to approve the changes to the charges for the Resource Sharing Committee?
So moved, Alex.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Can I have a second?
Second, Diane.
Thank you, Diane. Emily, will you call roll?
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Jennifer Markowitz.
Yes.
Scott Poynton.
Yes.
Becky Spratford.
Yes.
Thomas Stack.
Yes.
Beth Tuppen.
Yes.
Alex Mancina.
Yes.
Sue Busenbarg.
Yes.
Kelly Cox.
Yes.
Diane Hollister. Yes. Sarah McComb Chase.
Yes.
Jennifer McIntosh.
Yes.
Michael Campbell.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next up is the Universal Service Committee report, which will have a discussion and approval request for recommendation for statewide action. So Deidre and Sue can
Yes.
handle that.
Yes, thank you. And also Becky is also on the committee. And is anybody else on the committee? Jennifer, I'm sorry, we forgot to let you know about the last meeting. I so apologize.
It's okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So,
I got a little
okay,
confused
yeah.
too when I saw your message. I was like, wait,
Yeah.
I didn't know about the meeting. What happened?
I am so sorry, but we fixed that. So in any case, and Sue and I, we've collaborated on the report that you have. It was really a great meeting. And we talked about all the things that you see, the multiple listing service. Gail Bush has actually made some progress on this. She's found somebody who's kind of high up with realtors who thinks it's a really good idea and understood that it's kind of like school district information. So is working on it, going to get back to us. We found out that a new bill has been filed related to the database proposal, which was from Greg McCormick, which was really good news. And it's about, I think I linked to it somewhere, maybe in my report. And it's about, it amends the purpose of the state library, which scared me a little bit, but Greg said it was okay, just an addition, but so that the state library would be expected, I guess is a better way of putting it, to provide electronic resources directly to patrons, so that the funding could go through them theoretically. So anyway, but the main point of discussion was that we've been doing a lot of these incremental kinds of things over the years, like the cards for kids and statewide database is even, but that really we need to figure out a statewide, like call to action, a bigger picture, attempt to move things forward in collaboration with. And that it really needs to be led by the state library. This is their responsibility. Greg acknowledged that. He just said he doesn't, he needs help. He can't do it all by himself. So do you think
Yeah.
This is is right, Becky and Sue? This is, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he wants us to be clear in directing him that we would appreciate leadership, because it has to come from the state library.
Right. But he needs the
behind the scenes push.
Right.
If in official writing to say, hey, Just like when Joe was saying they get ideas from the members directly, it's like the same idea.
Yeah. So.
Are there, phrases like, everybody wants universal service, but there's many different paths to that. So are there discussions about some of those paths are better than others? Like, or are we just like, no matter how we get there, we just want to get there?
I think he's looking for specifically us to say, let's keep trying for the statewide database.
Oh, that, I was.
I think specifically because the Cards for Kids, as we discussed in our meeting, is like, it's a really great step and it's showing that it works. And so now that we're trying to do baby steps to another thing, and that we hope it kind of gets the ball rolling for a new Secretary of State to see that this is important. That's the other thing, like the timing of this is very important because Jesse White's not running for reelection.
But I guess when you say this is important, what's the this?
Universal services are important. So if we have different ideas and they all seem to have traction across bipartisan support, which we now have for the statewide databases, we have it in writing, bipartisan support. We're just starting to establish a track record. So whoever comes in to be Secretary of State next, there's a paper trail and precedent to show that this is something to keep doing.
Sure, but I guess what I was ineloquently trying to say is, if someone were to say, here's an easy fix for unserved areas, every square inch of Illinois falls within a community college district. So just go to your community college district and get service from them. That's kind of I don't pay taxes to a public library backdoor.
Right. We've actually talked about that in our meetings.
Exactly. So that would be a path that I would not be in favor of following.
Right.
If there was a path that just said, let's mandate that every square inch of Illinois needs to fall within a library service area, and those people would then pay library taxes, I'm all for that.
Right. That's not as far as we're going, but yes, we're trying to figure out who's unserved and find tangible ways for them to now be served.
Tangible is
in a cheaper way. So
right.
For $5 million, that's our wording, to the state legislature, we can cover
you're back to just the electronic stuff.
Right, but we're using this, but we're also using the Cards for Kids positive growth and how we've already got that passed.
Sure, that's great. That's great. But full universal service is much more than.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I think that it's very unfortunate that Greg isn't here.
Yeah.
I did not expect that to be the case. I think that you're asking really good questions, and you're both right.
Yeah.
I think the key phrase that's in here is Rails can't do it alone. And I think that was like also a big part of the conversation. It was like, well, why is Rails doing this? And I mean, they didn't mean it in a bad way. It was just like, what? And because it says we have to do it in the System Act, but we can't do it by ourselves. And that's and it does too. It really says we are supposed to fix this. Or keep working on fixing it. So I think the point was there needs to be a statewide collaboration to figure this out. I don't think that they came up with any, So I don't know if you want to wait till next month.
Well, that's the note that I wrote here. Maybe to table this to next month when he could be here and answer some questions.
Yeah, because we don't want to say, I'm very sensitive to not putting anything that makes his life harder in this area.
And we did straight up ask him in the meeting, like, is that something you'd want? And he was, totally for it.
Yeah.
We assumed he'd be here to help us.
Right, I think
word
he assumed so too. That'll give us time too. Maybe we can also talk to him before about or talk to various, talk amongst ourselves about some draft language to present so that this all happened. This has been happening very quickly.
So we'll table this till next month.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Jennifer.
Well, I was just going to say, are we just at this point talking about getting at an agency and association level solidarity around messaging? We're not looking for, he doesn't need member libraries throughout the state to provide that level of advocacy. and giving them a charge, right? It's really more about interagency collaboration at this point.
Yeah, I think
Is that
so. But as I say, I think it would be better if we could have him
With him.
if we could have him at the conversation, because
Yeah.
I agree.
that was what was, I think, expected to happen. So there's, another month won't hurt at this point. God.
No.
Yeah, we don't need to get bogged down in it. I was just.
Yeah, no.
Great question.
But that's what made me realize that we don't really know. And I think it was more like, yeah, we gotta, we can't just do that. I mean, Rails can't fix this.
Right. In my opinion, the first thing that needs to happen is define universal service. What does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many different
Entity.
aspects to the work of this committee. I mean, it's really excellent, but it is just
Yeah,
Rails.
like just the range we discussed, like the databases, the cards for kids, and the MLS stuff, right? Those are 3 completely different ways to go about it. So that's a great point. Yeah.
Anyway, so, okay, yes.
So we'll just move this discussion to next month.
Yes, I think that's
Okay.
best. Yep.
So next up is unfinished business with Monica.
Thank you,
Monica.
So we wanted to provide a general update of the strategic planning process each month. So you'll get to hear a little bit more about how that process is going and where we're moving. So Deirdre and I had the chance to meet with consultant Stephanie Chase yesterday, June 17th, to begin to discuss our process for the strategic plan. What that involved was a discussion of the schedule and how we're going to move forward. Just some upcoming meetings, so you have a sense of the timing and where we're going with this is on June 22nd. Stephanie will come and meet with our executive team for an introductory meeting to talk about the strategic planning process. And then she will also join the board at the July meeting for an introductory process there. So we're excited to hear more from her about the plan. I know all of you have had the chance to see her proposal that has come through, so you know a little bit about what is planned, but that's where some of that piece will begin to take shape. We also began to talk a little bit about the process of what those groups might look like and the timing. So in addition to those introductory meetings, we expect the leadership team that would be leading the strategic planning process to be formed and move forward beginning by early fall, so around September of this year. And then we would also have the opportunity to have plenty of involvement from our membership, from our board, and from our staff as we move Rails into the next era and 10 years on. Stephanie's very interested, of course, in all the wonderful work and planning that Mary Witt and our communications team are doing with the 10-year anniversary, and believes it ties in very closely with all of the work we'll be doing with the strategic plan. So we expect to share a lot of that information. And in addition, they'll be learning a lot about Rails in that time. One thing I hadn't mentioned was that the consultants are also planning to review all of the information shared at the board orientation on July, which we think is a very good overview of all of the services that Rails is involved with, as well as plenty of documentation that we have to share from the last strategic planning process that was pulled, as well as things that we have to share what the story of Rails is currently in now. And then anything else you would share, Deirdre?
Just that we will want board involvement, yes. But we'll talk about that more.
Any comments, questions? Okay, so we'll move along to our board development, item number 10, collaboration between Rails and IELTS and IHLS and ILA. So Monica and Mary Jo.
There's Mary Jo.
Hello, Mary Jo. Well, it's my pleasure to let you know, to introduce you, of course, to our president-elect of IEL, Mary Jo Matusek. And in addition to her role with IEL, Mary Jo brings more than 35 years in libraries and involvement with ILA, Rails, and many more organizations. We're going to talk to you a little bit today about the IEL partnership, but we wanted Mary Jo to have the opportunity to tell you a little bit about IEL and IEL priorities before we talk about the partnership piece.
Okay, great. I'm a former board member and former president of the Rails board, so it was kind of fun to sit back and watch you guys deal with things. Don't worry, we'll be having fun tomorrow at the IEL board meeting. IEL is the Association of Illinois School Library Educators. We have an 11-member elected board, and then we have about 30 function reps who work with us. We also have an executive secretary and treasurer registrar that work closely with the board, and we have a newsletter editor at the current time. The most pressing issue I can say for school libraries right now is advocacy. We have heard from many people who are either having their roles cut, they don't have their assistants that they once had to be there when they're teaching a class, so the library is open to other students and teachers. They need their time. They need time to actually manage the collections, plan with teachers. They're not getting that. They have to figure out what has been lost during the pandemic. A lot of them have reported to us that they've lost materials during the pandemic due to families moving, things just not being returned, especially when it started a year ago in the spring, before the school year even began. And then the planning time. Administrators don't seem to understand that they're not just teaching a class to the students and checking out books. They don't realize they need time to manage the collection, to meet with the teachers, and do all the things, process new books. The administrators don't seem to notice that. And it's been a big fight, and I think it's going to continue to be an issue across the schools. The biggest issue of all is money, because their budgets have been cut in the last year. A lot of money that normally went to the library was redirected to online resources, purchasing additional technology to be used by the students. A lot of people reported that they lost money in the budget last year, and they don't know if it's coming back. They haven't been told. We have school districts where they're being told, don't try to come and advocate for yourself, and don't tell anybody about it, that they're cutting positions, which is a crime. And I don't think it's legal for them to say, you can't tell anyone what's happening. I can't imagine that when it's a public board that's elected. I had one librarian tell me when talking about time is that she needs more time than the PE teacher has for their plan period. Nothing against them, but they don't have, they see all the kids, but they probably see half of them. The librarian works with every student and every adult in the building. And those seem to be big issues. So we'll be heading in that way. We're also working on our strategic plan to include more diverse leaders in our program, in our organization, and support them in any way we can. So that's kind of where we're heading with our new board. And that's what we've been seeing. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm very thankful that we have such a great partnership with Rails, Heartland, ILA, and IL. It's really a great thing, and we should have done it much sooner, but it is a great thing to work with everybody.
Thank you, Mary Jo. And so just to tell you a little bit more about that partnership. So in about 2019, Rails, Heartland, and IL began to meet together to talk about some of the priorities and really understand a little bit more about these same things that Mary Jo is telling us here today. We know that school libraries are definitely in need of our advocacy, and that we really need the opportunity to understand more about the really serious issues that they're going through. Lots of Rails staff attend this meeting, including Mary Witt, Dan Bostrom, Joe Philippak, Layla Keefe, Deirdre Brennett, and myself. This is now happening on a monthly basis. And so we wanted to tell you a little bit about what this group has done in just the last year. And so it's a monthly meeting between all of our organizations. And now, in addition to Heartland and ISLE and Rails, we've been joined by the Illinois Library Association as well. And so all 4 of these groups are meeting together to discuss the priorities. And we've worked together on a few projects. So there's been a lot of discussion about how to support school libraries through the pandemic. As Mary Jo mentioned, there's a lot of very specific and unique needs that happen because of the pandemic. And so it was a great opportunity for us to learn about those in sort of real time. The communications team worked on our My Library is Talking Points for school library advocacy. If you haven't had a chance to look those over recently, they're really wonderful opportunities to really be able to know and share more information. I know you all in the past have talked about how important some of these talking points can be in your role as Rails board members. So I highly encourage you to take a look at those. We have found them very valuable, and I know our school librarians have as well. My Library is Grants for Schools project have also moved through, and that has been a great opportunity for us to hear more about the kinds of things that our schools are doing and also support that work. We have been able to share a better understanding of our deals and discounts programs, both through Rails and the programs that are available through Heartland, because of course there's school libraries throughout our entire state of Illinois that we're working to support. And that resulted in a virtual event in March 2021, where we're actually able to do an event where people could learn more about the deals and discounts that were available. One thing that has been great about Zoom being more available is that a lot of our school librarians can't get away from their schools to attend continuing education events. And so being able to offer virtual events like the one that our partnership worked on can be a really successful way of sharing information. The ebook grant that you've heard a lot about throughout the year, and of course, Heartland also offered an ebook grant, and so that was a huge support and success for a lot of our school librarians who were very pleased to be able to work on that together. Also, a lot of ongoing discussion with our advocacy committee here at Rails about how school libraries and academic libraries can build collaboration towards college readiness skills. And I know our advocacy group are working on that along with a lot of folks from our ISLE partnership. So, and that also involves Heartland. So we're really pleased again to see that those groups all participating and working together towards this very important need. ILA joined the ISLE partnership this year, and ILA has reported really important information about legislative activity that is facing school libraries, which is a huge important piece of this puzzle. So that's another piece that we've talked a lot about and we will continue to talk about. And then we spoke with Keith Curry-Lance this year, which we've talked to you about the need for more school library data that can be shared both nationally, but of course also just so we know the story in Illinois about who is working in our school libraries and what the needs really are. And so we'll continue to talk about that this year. So that ISLE partnership has identified a few areas for future action in this upcoming year, including another back to school e-resource event. So we can begin again to talk about the e-resources that are available through all of our organizations. Joe Philippek is working with our ISLE partnership on an EDI focused program for school libraries, because our school libraries are looking for some kind of different information that we hope to be able to work together on providing a great online program for them. And then we're also, of course, going to be looking at our school data inquiry. And then at our last meeting, we talked about all these things that we have accomplished over the last year. And there was a lot of conversation from everyone in the group about just how pleased we all are to be able to work together, how it's a great group to be able to collaborate with, and that we're really pleased to have the opportunity to share this. Mary Jo, anything you would add about that group?
No, I think we got it covered. We've done a lot this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, very productive group. Well, any questions for Mary Jo or for myself about that ISLE partnership?
I have a comment or a question. So as a public librarian, I have learned so much about school libraries because before the pandemic, I volunteered 2 days a month at the school library. Even after my kids graduated, I was allowed to because I'm a professional in the community. And I've shared a lot of that information with my public library friends. I wonder if there's a way, since the largest membership in Rails is public libraries, but in order to get them to understand what the schools is going, maybe we could have like a buddy system, like letting like local public libraries and their local school library find ways for them to meet up or encourage that. I don't know how we could, because I know that that's worked in LaGrange, especially the library and the largest elementary school are literally across the street from each other. And with my work, and then we have another board member who also works at Orland Park, who's on the library board. The two of us have volunteered there. One of their volunteers got hired by the library. We've had a lot of collaboration and overlapping. And it's really worked well. And then we've spread it out through the whole community, and we have intergovernmental agreements with all the schools through all the 3 public libraries that serve them. I wonder if we can, I think that would help a long way to advocacy if we got the majority of our members interested in school libraries. I think if they knew, if they saw what they were going through, because it's terrible. Even at a library like the one I work at, which has great support, it's hard. I mean, I'm often the one cataloging all the books for them, so the librarian has time to do stuff. And the other professional librarian is doing the weeding. But if she didn't have 2 professional librarians volunteering, I don't know what she'd do. So I think we need to really try to get the publics to have some more of an intimate experience with the schools, because I think then they'd help advocate more. I don't know how we do it though, so.
It's a valuable perspective, and I think anything we can do to encourage that kind of cross multi-type library cooperation is going to be hugely important to how we move forward. I know it was really exciting through advocacy when we started to see when the academic libraries wanted to be able to support the school libraries and vice versa, and how excited both of them were about those collaborations. Right. And so if we could bring publics in some kind of natural way, I think it would go a long way as well.
Yeah, and I do know that a lot of, or I should say, a good portion of the public libraries who have youth services programs, a lot of them already have those connections in place and work with them, either through school loans or hosting tours of the library, the public library, all those kinds of things. But we do need more support. And that's the other thing that I could say is, if your public library board is approached by the school librarians and they ask for help, if you can even write a letter of support for them, that would be a great thing that you could do as a public library board member.
I like that idea.
Jenna, yeah.
Sure. Hi, Mary Jo. This is Jenna Nemec-Luisi. How are
Hi.
you?
Good.
Hi. So I just wanted to provide my perspective as a practicing school librarian as well. Becky, the things that you're talking about are really excellent opportunities. As someone who was a public librarian for 14 years and is also back in school librarianship, which is where I started out in my career, I definitely value those collaborations with public libraries. When my school library flooded a couple of years ago, my public library peers were so welcoming and saying, what can we do? Can we get your staff library cards? How can we serve your children? Can we pull books for you? What can we do to help? I will say that from my perspective, having sat on both sides of the desk, the public library side and the school library side, a lot of that collaboration and that advocacy you're talking about really has to start with breaking down barriers to those collaborations, because a lot of it comes down to time.
Yes.
During the school day, it is nearly impossible for school librarians to have meetings. I mean, it's even hard for me sometimes to get to my advocacy meetings and get to this meeting just because of my school day. And when public librarians have time for collaborating, it's during the school day, because after school, all of our kids from school go to the public library. And so they're very busy. So I think that anything that we can do to try to break down those barriers to getting those connections and making them happen, we really almost have to back it up and start there, because the spirit is willing on both sides, I can say, from having been in both of those roles. It's just often really hard to do that. And there are definitely times during the school year where those things are most impactful. I don't know if we're ever going to go back to having, I know when I worked for Chicago Public Library, we did the library card campaign every September, where we were connecting with our schools. That was great. Summer reading and summer learning challenges, those are great times for the school public library collaboration, talking about summer slide and all of that. It's during the school year, those kind of really bookend the school year, library card campaign or library card sign up month and summer learning challenge. It's during the school year that makes it hard. So I I don't know how much we could do from the Advocacy Committee. Mary Jo, I am a chair of the Advocacy Committee for the Rails
Okay.
Board, so it's exciting to be able to hear about all the wonderful things that you're doing. So I'm wondering how maybe we can support some of those connections.
Okay, great. We'll have to talk some more.
Yes, we should.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. Thank you, Monica and Mary Jo. Have a good weekend, Mary Jo.
Thank you.
Bye, Mary Jo. Thank you.
Enjoy your board
Bye.
meeting. So now we're on to item number 11, the board member reports. Would anyone like to share anything happening at their library? Sure.
Sort of a little off point. I'm so sorry I had to jump off the meeting yesterday with the policy meeting.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know if you.
Is everything all right?
Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, good. No, somebody ended up getting arrested in the library.
Yeah, you
so-
said you had a security.
Yeah, we had somebody with a mental health
Fun
issue
days.
that was not appreciative of what the judge was telling him over Zoom court. So he got a little upset and agitated. So we had a lot of security in there. So I just didn't, I wanted to apologize. That's
Sorry
the fun of
about
my
that.
library right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to item number 11, which is we talk about the meeting recap and agenda building for the next meeting. A couple of things we wanted to add to the agenda.
So we're going to, we tabled the
State library.
Right, the statewide action on universal service. We're gonna talk about the calendar again. Obviously, board masks, the board members and masks. We're going to have a strategic planning update, discuss my goals, the anniversary, visibility plan, all kinds of things at the next meeting. So, did I leave anything out?
Not that I had here. Anybody else? Okay. I would like to say it's been a pleasure of serving on the board with each of you in the past 3 years. You're a bunch of professionals and I've learned a tremendous amount on being in the board. It's helped me learn professionally a tremendous amount as a board trustee and as a professional in the education industry. And so I thank you for that. I hope that you will all continue to connect with me in one way or another. And so, so thank you very much for that opportunity. As agreed, the board will meet in person in Burr Ridge and via Zoom on Friday, July 30th at 1 p.m. The orientation for new board members will start at 9 a.m. and all board members are invited to attend. Lunch will start at noon and the board meeting will start at 1 p.m. The agenda items will include swearing in of the new board members, the election of the board officers, and approval of board meeting calendar. So, and with that, I think we'll move to adjournment. So thank you all for your attendance and I adjourn this meeting at 2:57 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.